What up? I'm B. Welcome to my channel where we talk about all things YouTube drama and current events, but we do it in a way that is fair and reasonable and as unbiased as we can be. Today, I'm super excited to make this video because we are going to be talking about the first installment of the new Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star docuseries collaboration called The Beautiful World of Jeffree Star. So, the first episode came out yesterday and I watched it after a long day of work and I was really intrigued by it. So we're going to go ahead and go over just basically what was in it and then maybe some predictions of what's going to be talked about and then my opinion on some certain things that happened in the video. So when it starts, we see there's a whole intro. It's really cool. It's like very cinematic. And then we see Shane getting ready to go with Andrew. They're going to take a private jet to Northern California and go to a Morphe store where Jeffree's having a meet and greet. It's the announcement of his brushes and his collaboration with Morphe, so it's going to be a big deal. And Shane and Andrew are going along because they're also announcing that they are going to be doing a Shane Dawson Jeffree Star palette. So you see Shane, he's getting ready, he's really nervous about it. He's like, I'm not in the beauty world. People make videos about how wrecked I look, how I'm gaining weight, all the things wrong with me. And so it's just really nerve-wracking to go. Plus, going on a private jet, it just seems weird to him. Plus, it's a smaller plane, so he's nervous about that whole thing. And so it shows them meeting up with Jeffree, going to the hotel. It's a beautiful hotel. They made some really nice accommodations. They do the meet and greet. Shane looks awkward the whole time, but you can tell in front of the big crowd, he's very overwhelmed. But then when he's just pretending to talk to Andrew, he is on, he's shining. That's what he's comfortable with and what he's used to. So this big whole thing, they have a personal security team. They do that. Everything goes well. And then they end up going back. It's just for one day. And so that's really, the basic surface level as it gets overview of what happened. They make it home. Last scene is him, Shane, going back to Ryland, hugging, whatever. And then they do kind of a preview of what's going to be coming up in the series. And so that part is really interesting because it looks like they're going to get into the actual detailed numbers of maybe what you earn on a collaboration, how much it takes to put makeup into production, what the profits look like. And I think that part is going to be super interesting. So I'm really excited to do that. And I think throughout the series, what I'm probably going to end up doing is a video after every episode that comes out, so that way we can do the overview if you missed it, main key points, and then my opinion at the end. So like I said, that was the basic overview. They hinted at some secrets, some tea that might come out, what might be covered, and so let's just go ahead and go over those. At one point, Jeffree said that an influencer, they bleeped it out, tried to get with Cameron Dallas. So we'll see if they talk about who that is. A lot of people are speculating that it's James Charles, obviously. There's a part where they're talking about James Charles and Jaclyn Hill, and Shane was like, oh, do we like them? And Jeffree said, we like them today. So they're gonna go into that. I mean, they're definitely going to address the James Charles thing. They have to. It was in the trailer, so they're gonna go over it somewhat. They talked about Dramageddon, about how that happened right after the first series that Shane and Jeffree did together. So he was like, I was on this huge high from it, and then that photo got posted, and it was a really sad moment. We were really good friends at one point, so it just really hurt. Apparently him and Gabriel Zamora have not become friends again, but he said that Gabby came and talked to him man to man. Those were his words. And they came to an understanding. And then they also, they obviously are going to be talking about Dramageddon 2.0 with Tati and James Charles. And another thing that they were talking about is Shane's oh, I know Jeffree and I are going to have a fight. I know my anxiety is going to cause us to fight. So I'm just waiting for that to happen. I'm nervous. And then, like, the next scene is when Shane goes back into Jeffree's hotel room and he's like, oh, people are trying to start drama. Like, did you say anything? And Shane's like, what? Like, you know, he's giving him a hard time because apparently some news site posted that there was tension between the two of them. And he was like, oh, well, you know, don't try and make views off my name. And if you have to resort to that, maybe you just admit that, like, your news channel's a flop. Which was funny to me. Like, I thought it was humorous. And so they kind of made a joke about it, but I do think there will be a point in time when, like, if you spend so much time with somebody and you're friends with them and you're working with them and you're, like, working in multiple capacities, they're filming this whole thing and they're making a palette together, you're gonna butt heads at some point. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that type of conflict when it arises, because it's going to, like, it just happens, you know? You spend too much time with your best friend, your boyfriend, whoever, you're gonna fight. So I hope we get to see that. And my opinion on it. I liked it. I liked the video a lot. I didn't watch his last series with Jeffree, just because it wasn't super interesting to me. I don't really watch Jeffree's channel, and I only watch the Shane, like, docuseries and videos that are really, like, strike an interest, like, I am interested in. So that one I just didn't really care, and, like, I didn't watch it. But with this one, everyone's been talking about it. I knew they were going to go over a lot of the drama that happened this past year, and I was like, okay, I don't want to miss it. I don't want to be behind. So I watched the first episode, and I'm definitely going to continue watching it because it was interesting. And something that I thought was cool was, like, we see this facade, like, we see this persona that Jeffree Star puts out of, like, he's cold, he's cool, he's calculated, like, has it all together, can be kind of mean, like, you see this. But then it was really funny to see him, like, joking with Shane, being like, oh, well, did you say something that you should be sorry for? Like, having that humor. And I'm sure, like, I know he's funny in his videos. I've watched a few of them. But it's different when it's somebody you're friends with, like, seeing them interact. And I thought that that was cool. I also find it interesting because Jen loves reviews. She does, like, the Sunday live chats, and they were talking about how Shane downplays his wealth, how he, like, doesn't talk about having a ton of money. He always pretends that, like, not pretends to be broke, but talks about being broke, like, doesn't flaunt his wealth, all this stuff. I know some people were like, oh, all of a sudden Shane's buying Gucci clothes. Like, okay, does that change him as a person? But that's beside the point. And he talked about it. He was like, there's so many people on YouTube who are, like, millionaires and are on the Forbes list, and it's just crazy to me that they are so wealthy and, like, I'm not. And Ryan's like, well, you're doing fine. Like, you are successful. And he's like, yeah, but not as much as them. So I think it's interesting because Shane definitely downplays his wealth. I mean, if you look at the house, you look at the things he has, people he hangs out with, the freedom that he has to create the content that he wants, you know he's not, like, on the struggle bus. So I go back and forth with it because I think it's cool when you are somebody who has a lot of money and you don't flaunt your wealth, but I think it's also kind of patronizing if you are successful enough to have this big house in California, have the cars, the dogs, go on the trips, like, do that kind of stuff. And not, like, going on trips for fun, because I know that they don't really take a lot of vacations, but, like, doing the really expensive vacation video and stuff like that. I think it's kind of patronizing if you're in that situation and you're constantly like, well, I'm broke, I'm trash, I'm garbage. But at the same time, I know that he grew up not wealthy, and so like, when it comes to wearing, like, ripped clothes or the same t-shirt for years and years and years, that's just, I feel like that's kind of a comfort thing of, like, well, this is what I'm used to, this is what I was raised with. So if you're, like, are raised in an environment where money is not abundant, where you're not very wealthy, where you might have to wear the same shirt for years and years and years and you can't afford to get a new one, it's hard to break that even if you are making money. So I go back and forth on that, but I definitely felt for him when he was talking about how he's not a beauty guru and he's nervous to be in front of all these people who are fans of Jeffree because he's going to be criticized and people might go for his looks, and he's just really insecure about that. So I felt for him on that because I watch this as someone who's a fan of Shane over Jeffree, and so I'm like, well, we don't care. Like, people who are your fans, they don't care. They like the way you look. Like, you know, they support you no matter what, so it doesn't matter if you feel insecure or not. We just like you for you. But when you're collaborating with somebody and he knows this is going to be a huge series, so it's possible there's going to be people who aren't fans of him watching and commenting and being like, well, why are you making a palette? You're not in the beauty industry. So I definitely get that. And then the last thing that I was thinking about is, this might be different for you if you are subscribed to Jeffree Star, like if you watch him a lot, but I don't watch him a lot. And the things that you hear about him are him being very, like, outspoken, sometimes aggressive, lashing out at people. Like, during Dramageddon 2.0, some of the texts that he allegedly sent to James, I was like, oh my goodness, like, that is a lot. And so you see this persona of, like I said, someone who is cold and calculated and straight up, like, mean. He has said some very problematic things in the past. That's not what this is about, but, like, you see him one way, and then in the video he's talking about how he still gets nervous before launches, or he's, you know, hoping people will like him. He's not like, oh, I know it's gonna sell out like that. He's questioning himself with his Morphe collaboration, like all of that. And like seeing him hold hands with a security guard and Shane on the plane, and it just makes me wonder, like, how much of that persona that he plays up for the camera is him, and how much of it is what he's kind of adapted into because of who he is and the position that he's in. Because, like, Jeffree Star has been around for forever. He's been around since MySpace. Like, I remember being in 8th grade and my friends listening to his music. Like, that's how long he's been around for. And he's always been super outspoken, super, like, in your face, loud, kind of raunchy. I think he's maybe stepped away from that a little bit as he's gotten more established and moved into being kind of an expert in his field. And with all the business that he has to do, I think he stepped away from the raunchiness and the shock factor a little bit. But I'm like, it must be so incredibly hard to be not just like a man in the makeup community and the beauty community, but to be a man who, I can't speak for his sexuality, but I remember at one point, in one of the first videos that Shane and Jeffree did together, he asked, like, do you prefer, like, what pronoun do you prefer? And Jeffree didn't really give an answer, and now in this, Shane refers to him as he, and so it's like, okay, so you accept he, you know, go by he, but you are also very feminine. And so you're in kind of a weird space where people don't know how to classify you, and that leads to people attacking. And yes, I know he's said some very bad things, problematic things, been in a lot of drama, but we're ignoring that for just this tiny little second of where how much of what he portrays online and on camera, how much of that is in either response to or as like a preemptive strike against people coming for him for the way that he is. Because when you can't fit somebody into a box, it's easier to go after them. Like, we're, as people, we like to be like, oh, you know, you go here, you go here, you go here, this is how it is. But when somebody comes along who doesn't fit your mold, doesn't fit the typical man or gay man or transgender, transsexual, like when somebody isn't able to be put into one of those compartments or like boxes, they get a lot of backlash and they get a lot of hate. So I'm hoping that we see kind of like a softer side, and like I said, he may show this in his videos. It might have been shown in the last collaboration they did together, but I didn't watch it. And so I don't ever think you can, like, show that enough. I think it's important for people to know that, like, under all of this is a real person. Under all of this, this is who I truly am. Even if you have a persona that you play up for YouTube or like a radio show, TV show, whatever it is, even if you have that persona, it's always good to show, like, hey, underneath, I'm here, I'm chill, like, this is just what advances the career and gets the money. I don't know. Maybe that, like, breaks it for some people. Maybe that makes it worse and you don't like the persona because you know it's fake, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't watch him. I don't watch any of his other stuff. I didn't watch the first collaboration, so I think it's just interesting to see, like, when you take off the mask, what's there. But I've always been super interested in, like, how people think and why they make certain decisions and how they approach certain things, so I'm interested in it for that. But anyway, rambled long enough. That is all I have for this video. Like I said, I liked the first installment. I'm really excited to see the rest of it. If you watched it, let me know what was your favorite part. What are you most excited to see throughout the series? What do you hope they cover? And if you're not watching it, let me know why. Leave a comment below either way. I would love to read them. And like I said, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you've subscribed to me already, I am so grateful. I love just being able to hang out with you and chill and just have these chit chats. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it so much if you would. I would really appreciate it. And with that, I'm gonna go. Again, thank you so much for watching. Go out there and be the voice of reason in a world full of crazy. And I'll see you next time. Bye.